This is the Fertile Mindset podcast, where we explore all the emotional aspects of fertility to support you on your path to parenthood. My name is Sarah Holland. I'm the Fertile Mindset coach and a mother to 2 children after my own fertility challenges. I hope you find all the support and inspiration you need within this podcast to carry you forward on your fertility journey towards your own successful outcome. It's also my wish that through listening to these episodes, you rediscover how to enjoy life now and live it to the full while you wait for your baby. Now, let's begin today's episode. Hello, and welcome back to the Fertile Mindset podcast. In this episode, I'm having a chat with Fran Migliorati. And Fran is a fertility mindset coach. She's based here in London in the UK. And she's not only been through her own fertility journey, which ended in having twins through IVF, she also survived an ectopic pregnancy. And now she uses everything that she learnt, everything that she experienced to support people on their fertility journeys. She has lots of tools and techniques that she uses for mindset support. And the one that I am particularly interested in, as I'm sure you know, is EFT, Emotional Freedom Techniques, also called tapping. So in this chat here, Fran and I have a conversation about her journey, about her own experience of taking care of or not taking care of the emotional side of fertility and what that can result in, and the support she now offers. And we talk around mindfulness as well, which I think is really, really important and such an easy and tangible way to take care of your emotional well-being day to day and on your fertility journey. So we dive into what mindfulness is, what does it really mean compared to what we think it means, and how can we easily start to use it, and how we can use EFT as a tool as well to support our mindfulness and our emotional well-being. So this is the first time that you'll hear me speak with Fran. I'm also speaking to Fran at the Fertility Stress Solutions Summit, which starts on the 1st of February. This is a brand new event that I'm holding that I'm very, very excited about. You may have already heard about it, received my emails or seen posts about it, and perhaps you've already reserved your free spot there. If you haven't done that yet, please do join us. You can sign up for free at fertilemindset.com/fertility stress solution, or look for the link under the podcast here. But for now, have a listen to this conversation with Fran. I hope you enjoy it and you join Fran and I also at the upcoming summit. Hello, Fran. Welcome to the Fertile Mindset podcast. It's really lovely to have you join me here.
Thank you for having me, Sarah. It's a pleasure to be here with you today.
And it feels like we're speaking a lot this week, because not only are we speaking now on the podcast, but also we're speaking at the Fertility Stress Solutions Summit, which has just opened its doors to new registrations. So it's really lovely to have this opportunity to talk to you, a couple of times and touch on different topics together as well.
Yes, absolutely. I think it's a great support for anyone who's trying to conceive, the summit, the podcast. So thank you also to you for doing what you do.
Oh, you're so welcome. And yeah, it's a pleasure, isn't it? When we do this kind of work, and I'm sure you can relate to this as well, the more that we can get the message out to people that there is support available, that we hear them, that we understand them, and then present, possible solutions for them. I think it's just such a motivator, isn't it, for doing this work anyway, knowing that it's helping people that are out there listening.
Yes, absolutely. That's the main thing. That's the goal.
That's what we're here for. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So before we get into what we're going to talk about today, which is a really, really interesting topic, and I know we're going to have lots to say about it, I'd love to hear a little bit from you, Fran, about how you got into this work of fertility support, and a little bit about your story as well.
Yeah, sure. So I personally have gone through a bit of a journey myself on trying to conceive. So gosh, that was 8 years ago when it all began. So 8 years ago, husband and I got married, and I came off the pill thinking I would get pregnant within a few months. And obviously that didn't happen. So classic PCOS. Didn't ovulate, didn't get pregnant naturally, was then referred to a fertility specialist. And I'm talking this 2014, 2015. And back then, all these months, today I'm talking very simply about it, but I do remember very clearly in my head and in my body how that felt, how lonely those months were. I didn't have any friends around me who were trying to conceive at the time. I didn't have anyone who had gone through fertility treatments apart from one friend. So it was a very new world for me, and it felt really scary. Not only scary because of all the uncertainty and all the fears around, will it ever happen? Is anything wrong with my body? But also scary the fact that it was everything new, all this terminology, the doctors, the scans that I was doing, there was a lot going on, and that put a lot of pressure on my health, on my well-being, my emotional, my physical well-being. But at the time, I didn't realize any of that. At the time, I only thought about getting pregnant, having a baby, and moving on with my life, because that was the next step for my husband and I. So I managed to go through fertility treatments, start with Clomid and then IUI, and I got pregnant with IUI, but it turned out to be an ectopic pregnancy. And again, the level of scariness, how scared I was with everything with the ectopic pregnancy just went through the roof. It was an ectopic pregnancy that ruptured, so my condition then turned into a serious condition. I needed to have surgery. So all in all, I think that thinking back, I had a lot of trauma as well that happened, physical trauma to my body, emotional as well. But I didn't realize any of that at the time, as I said. So luckily, after my ectopic pregnancy, I took a few months off to recover. And then I tried IVF with my partner and my husband, and we got pregnant. We got pregnant with twins. And that again in itself was a high risk pregnancy. So again, lots of fear involved with the pregnancy. So after having my babies, I took a while off work. I wasn't a fertility coach back then. I had a different job. And when my daughters were 2 years old, it's when I had an emotional breakdown. And I really didn't know where it was coming from. So I did a lot of work on myself to identify that rush, that different sort of emotional feelings that I was feeling in my head, in my body, something that I had this sensation that something was wrong with me, was actually coming from all my trying to conceive years. So all the traumas, the emotional trauma that went with it. So I started working with myself in terms of my emotions, my trauma, and I noticed that actually a lot of women go through the same. So by doing a little bit of research and then joining certain groups online from women who had experienced very similar experiences in life, I realized that there isn't a lot of support when it comes to emotional well-being for women who are trying to conceive, women and couples. And that's when something sparkled within me and said, you have to turn those wounds that you carry into wisdom and help others, support others in their journey. So that's when I decided to change careers completely. I became a life coach. Then I specialized in fertility. Then I specialized in trauma and trauma work. So that's pretty much how I got involved, just turning my own personal journey, healing from it, and then deciding to help others as they navigate their own journeys.
Wow. Thank you for sharing that, Fran. And I can imagine that there will be, people who can relate to what you went through there, that kind of, it's so new, it's so different. I don't even understand this world of fertility, first of all, but then almost just thinking, well, this is how it is. I've just got to carry on. It doesn't sound like there was even that space that acknowledgement of that this is emotionally hard, because if you're not aware of other people dealing with it and the way they cope with it, well, where's our, role model from there? Who do we look to? So yeah, so interesting how that came out for you a couple of years after you had your babies, and suddenly, it's all still there, isn't it? In the background, it's all still needing to be healed.
Yeah. And as you say, because we are so much focused on having a baby, and then pregnancy happens, it all doesn't shift away. So you're still dealing with all the fears and complications that sometimes, or mostly, most of the times, go with a pregnancy. So by the time that you sit down to reflect on your life and how you feel, it's probably years on later. And that means that your body has gotten used to that pattern of coping with whatever emotional trauma or physical trauma even that you've been through. So that's why I decided to go back to the time when someone is trying to conceive and support them and minimize any future consequences, emotional consequences, and of what they're going through in the moment. So dealing with that, or managing that emotional trauma or emotional challenge with the up and downs of emotions that fertility brings in that phase of their lives, which is so important, that will shape how they cope with difficulties in the future.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because our ability to cope and our ability to adapt and just do that instinctively, does happen, and it can almost cover up, can't it, what's really going on underneath until we reach that breaking point. So an awareness, as soon as we face fertility challenges and as soon as our dreams look very different and we realize, this is going to take so much longer or be a different path or involve treatment, whatever it is, if that recognition was there early on and the support came in whatever form feels right, then we're not storing it up for the future, are we? We're not kind of adapting in coping mechanisms and in unhealthy ways that will come back to haunt us at some point. When I loved how you said how you turned your wounds that you've been carrying into wisdom. And like we just said at the start, didn't we? There's a real drive to do this work and to keep spreading the message and saying, look, it's okay. Whatever you're feeling is natural. It's normal, but you don't have to accept it. And we're here to support, and there are options. You may not have anyone in your immediate circle, your friends and family and colleagues who really understands what it means to have fertility issues and go through these kind of traumas, but there are people out there who understand, and obviously through the internet and being connected to anyone anywhere now, we can find our people, can't we, who will understand and give us that space to explore it. So
and I really love the community that today exists around trying to conceive and fertility, because it does make a difference in someone's journey. And we're not only talking about chances of conceiving, but also make a difference in their quality of life. So the person they are, as soon as they do get pregnant or whatever it is that is next in their journey for them, will make a huge impact in who they become as a mother in the future, a father. So that's really important, as you say, to open and to build that community around yourself as you are dealing with a challenging time in your life, instead of shutting yourself down and burying everything that you feel because any different reasons. It could be because that's how you've coped with difficulties in the past. It could be because people around you minimize how you feel or what you're going through just because they don't understand themselves. So it's very important that people find this community, but also that they live within the community, like they build the support around them. And things like the summit is just one of the examples how amazing and how important this is for women who are trying to conceive. And I wish I had this during my personal journey. And back then, 8 years ago, I don't even know if this community existed. So maybe it did, but I just didn't have anyone, and I wish I did. And I wish, and I see these a lot more now, even fertility clinics now offering emotional support to their patients. And I think it's so important too.
Definitely. Yeah, it's rising up, that's for sure.
Yeah,
It's becoming much more recognized. It seems crazy that it would need to be recognized, but I think fertility is so focused on the physical health because it's seen as a physical health problem,
yeah,
a problem in conceiving, that's where all the focus and attention and support goes, that it takes the fertility patients themselves to recognize it and speak out and say, look, this is what I need to create the shift. So we're here, we're going to keep talking about it.
yeah.
It's really, really important. And I know we're going to share today as well, Fran, some kind of simple ways that we can start to tap into that way that we're coping, and that way that we're coping, talking to ourselves and talking about our situation and the thoughts that we have and so on. And we're going to look at that all under the umbrella of mindfulness,
Mm.
which I know it's one of those kind of real hot topics right now, isn't it? Mindfulness, we hear people talking about it all the time, and mindfulness practices and how we can bring it into our lives. But I think, yeah, it's going to be good to have a discussion about what it really means and kind of the achievable ways we can do this and the easy ways we can do it as well. I'd love to hear what your perspective is on mindfulness. What is it? What does it actually mean?
So mindfulness means different things for different people. But I think for me, and the way that I see mindfulness, and I apply it on my life, and I apply it and I explain it to my clients, is mindfulness is making a decision out of a choice. So it is not reacting to something, it's not just doing something for the sake of doing it, but being aware of your state in the moment, what it is that you need for the future, and then making a mindful decision on what's next. So one thing that is very common is to see mindfulness as this calm and zen state. You can even imagine someone sitting lotus position, eyes closed, kind of meditating and thinking that that's the goal of mindfulness. But for me, that kind of puts a mask on the internal state of someone, instead of really focusing on what mindfulness feels inside of your body. So for me, mindfulness feels like you're connected to whatever it is that is happening for you in this moment. So I usually say coming home, so connecting to the body, so feeling like you're home in your body as a state of mindfulness. And that's why I call my coaching package Homecoming, because that's really the basis and how we start building a solid mind-body strong connection to support you emotionally in your fertility journey, is that feeling that you are able to notice what's happening in your body, being aware of what it is that you feel, and then make a decision on what you need or what your next steps will be in that moment, on that day, at that time in your life.
Yeah, I love that difference that you pointed out there into, because that's what happens, isn't it? We hear the word mindfulness and immediately a picture comes to mind of people being mindful and, like you say, meditating and being calm. And, we think about what it looks like rather than what it feels like. But once we start focusing on that feeling and what the experience would be like for us, it becomes a lot more tangible, doesn't it? And realistic. And I love the fact you brought in about decisions and choices. Because yeah, the way that we make decisions and choices and the part that we feel we have to play in those is huge, isn't it? We can make decisions in a very conscious and a very mindful way. And I know that EFT, and we both use EFT, which I'm sure we're going to talk about, and is the whole foundation for the summit as well. But EFT is a real support, isn't it, in making mindful decisions and really getting back to what it is that you want to do and what feels right for you, not what society and everyone else and all the kind of noise out there says we should do. It helps decisions become much clearer, doesn't it? And I'm guessing more mindful.
Yes, absolutely. And that's why, linking to EFT, I just love EFT as a tool, because that's how EFT can, even if you don't know how to be mindful and how to connect to your body, that's what EFT does for you. So with EFT, you acknowledge how you feel in that moment without judging, without trying to change, just acknowledging what is in that moment for you. And then you talk about, or during the technique, you kind of go through what would the opposite be? How is it that I would like to feel? And then you solidify at the end how it is that you're feeling based on how you want to feel. And kind of bring those words and those sensations to your body, and you make it happen for you by tapping and by saying those words to yourself. So that's why I think EFT is such a unique tool and such a useful tool when it comes to mindfulness, when it comes to giving yourself the choice of feeling in a different way, that what it is, without judging how you feel, without shaming yourself, without going into any comparison or rabbit holes of those mind tricks that we play on ourselves, like how we can perhaps sabotage our own well-being by just being in those states of negative thoughts. And EFT is just a tool, an amazing tool, a very useful tool to help you come out of it.
Yeah, it makes it easy and natural and possible, doesn't it? Because as you talk through those steps there, you can see the obstacles that can be at place, can't you? You can see, first of all, like they're not recognizing that, even like you felt, I guess, for, you know, your fertility journey, not even recognizing that these emotions are happening and they're just pushed aside. We put our coping mechanisms in place and they're hidden, you know. So first of all, it's the recognizing, isn't it? And then totally acknowledging it without the judgment, because if we start judging ourselves and saying, well, I shouldn't be feeling that way, others are coping better than me, you know, there are far worse things going on in the world, or whatever, we try and minimize what we're feeling, then again, we've pushed it away and it's not allowing the healing. And I love when you said the other steps of tapping are actually, you can start to bring in those like, well, how do I really want to feel? You know, it allows space, doesn't it? Once you've acknowledged this is how I am feeling and this is my truth, and I'm going to be really honest with myself first, even if not talking to anybody else, at least I'm acknowledging it to myself, then it gives us that chance to make a choice, doesn't it? And say, well, do I want to feel this way, or do I want something else? Do I deserve something else? And when we bring that into the tapping, it's, I mean, we're not really touching on exactly what tapping is here, but tapping is working with the meridian system in a very similar way to acupuncture, but using our own fingertips to tap on the meridian points to create a sense of balance in ourselves. And when we're in that place of balance, we just do and we think and we feel whatever we most need, don't we? Whatever is natural for us and comfortable and supportive, and we can release and we can let go of all the stuff that we didn't. So yeah, when you clearly put it in those steps, it really showed me the process that we go through with tapping. It's quite phenomenal to watch, isn't it? Someone go through that process of recognizing, acknowledging, releasing, and then claiming, you know, what they really want.
Yeah, it's magical. And I think sometimes clients that never heard or never done EFT before, they often say, oh, in the beginning I felt so uncomfortable saying those words. And I say, yes, and that's really a good thing. It's because you're learning how to recognize and how to acknowledge your own feelings. Whereas in the past, what we are taught, you know, as a society, is to hide what we feel, to hide our true stories and how we feel in that moment, is to bury that inside of us so that it doesn't make anyone doesn't cause any discomfort, or so that we can get on with life, because you know life is busy and we're always on the go, always having to accomplish things. So the technique in itself, just by starting by with the acknowledging, starting with saying, I feel stressed, or I feel anxious, I feel this way. It's a way of just acknowledging our emotions, and that's what our emotions need. They just need to be acknowledged. It's often the stories we create around it, like shaming ourselves, comparing ourselves, thinking how we should feel. That's what causes emotional distress. It's not the emotion itself. but the meaning and the stories we give to it afterwards.
Yes. Oh gosh, totally. Yeah. And the emotion itself doesn't have to be scary or impossible or anything to be ashamed of at all. It is everything we put around it, isn't it? Or we think other people are thinking. Um, yeah, when we strip it
Yeah.
right back, it becomes much simpler. And that's what a lot of mindfulness is about as well, isn't it? Is stripping back to real simple thoughts and decisions and choices, and keeping things very straightforward.
Yeah, and you can do that in so many different ways. Just naming our emotions is one, but also noticing how your thoughts are doing in that moment. Are you just being mindful of your thoughts? Are you having racing thoughts? Are you finishing your thoughts, or are they just rolling from one to the other? Or are you having scary thoughts? Just like going through what's happening in your mind and noticing them. It's a way of being mindful as well. Same as your body. So noticing what body sensations can I feel? Do I feel tension anywhere in my body? And then if you do, just name it. So there are different ways that you can use mindfulness to improve or to help you um, in your day-to-day, in your quality of life as you're trying to conceive.
Yeah, lovely simple things to just have that awareness of, and start listening to our thoughts and taking note of them. And people do that in very different ways, don't they? I know a lot of people love to journal, maybe first thing in the morning, and just write out I know for me, that's amazing. If I start writing out what's actually in my head and the thoughts that are going on in there, it
Yes.
becomes a lot clearer. It's like, oh my goodness, I can see it all on the paper now.
Mm.
And it's like a sigh of relief when you've released that kind of pressure from your mind. So yeah, simple tips like that are wonderful. And of course, we touched on EFT, and we're going to keep talking about EFT at the summit. But the session that you have at the summit, Fran, is wonderful, because it's addressing those obstacles to mindfulness, isn't it? Those obstacles to having a calm, peaceful mind, being able to make the choices that you want to, because we talk about stress and anxiety, and using EFT to work through that, don't we, in your session, which is amazing. You have a wonderful tapping round there that I hope everyone listening to the podcast comes along and joins the session at the summit as well.
Yes, thank you. I think even the words I use during the tapping that do connect quite nicely to our topic today, which is great to see how just saying different things to ourselves can help shift our state, our emotional state. So some of the words are, I choose this, or I choose to feel this way, and giving yourself the option as well as you're going through the script to connect to your body, to connect how you feel, and check in with yourself to see what shifts. So to learn how to recognize and how to notice what's happening in your body as you tap, as you go through the script. So there's definitely a few good things that the EFT exercise that we did could benefit you, could bring to you if you've never done EFT before. Or even if you have, EFT has this magical dust around it that it will work in a different way. Every time you do it, it could shift a lot more sometimes, because it depends on how tired you are, so all the things that around well-being will influence how that particular session that you do may feel for you. But yeah, I think it's definitely a great tool for anyone who feels stressed or anxious about their journey, and I hope it helps.
Yeah, I know that both of us, when we discovered EFT, it's like, gosh, this technique is phenomenal. It works so much more quickly and effectively. And importantly, it's something that people can use themselves. They may need to learn it, first of all, from, say, the summit or from a practitioner or wherever else. But then you can start to really take control over the thoughts that you have, the meaning that's behind it, the conversation you're having in your mind, and really calm that down just with a simple technique that takes a few minutes by tapping on your meridian points. It's quite phenomenal. And that word magic and magical, I hear it frequently as well, constantly, and I feel it myself. Gosh, how many years have I been using EFT now? About 18 years. And still, when I use it on myself, I'm still amazed by the shifts that I feel, and definitely what, I see on other people as well. So you're right, you can do the same tapping round, which the rounds that are available in the summit, and yours is one of them. You could do it on one day and feel a certain way, and then another day your mind's in a different place. You're dealing with something different. Your thoughts are going in a different direction, and you'll get a different result from that. But it will always be for what is best for you. It's always bringing you, as you say, about coming home, back to yourself, back to what feels comfortable, familiar, safe, supportive. And that's what I love about it. You don't have to set out positive affirmations, do you, with EFT, and say, this is how I want to feel? Because people find that very difficult, don't they, to picture that and think, am I choosing the right words? Is that really even possible for me? We can let go of all of that with EFT and just focus on what is true right now. And then bring in those lovely words, which I know you use in your tapping, like I choose to feel a certain way, or I'm open to a shift here. I wonder what will be, the best outcome for me. And then just see where you get to, and trust that is the right place. And you feel that it's the right place. You know when you're done, don't you? You know when you've arrived with it.
Yes, absolutely. That's such a nice way of explaining EFT and what people can expect, and how they should not how they should feel, but how they will know that it's been beneficial to them.
Don't you? It's a sense of peace, isn't it? That real, it's beautiful. And we could talk about EFT all day, because it's what we're both passionate about. And that's why I created the summit, which is the Fertility Stress Solution Summit. I think it's about my 10th online summit that I've done. It might even be the 11th, but I've run lots of online summits in the past that are all about fertility, all about different kinds of support. But this is the first time that I've really drilled down purely to using EFT as a modality for stress release, emotional health, emotional well-being, and all that, amazing support it brings in. And it's been amazing to bring together EFT practitioners, including yourself, from everywhere, who are all focusing on fertility in their own unique ways. And I remember sending out, that invitation to you, Fran, when I heard about the great work you were doing. And I think I'd seen you actually on an Instagram live talking about EFT as well. And so I sent out the invitation, please come and join me at the summit. What made you take up that invitation? Why do you want to be a part of this event?
Well, thank you for reaching out and for putting this together, because I think this is so powerful and so valuable. I think EFT, and what made me do this, is EFT is such a wonderful tool, and a tool that has been proven again and again with the clients and people that I do with EFT with, even on myself, how amazed I was once I discovered EFT. It's an evidence base, that's science behind it, that's research behind it. So EFT is very unique in its own way, because of the things we discussed just now, with the way that you learn how to acknowledge how you feel, and then you create this, what's possible for me, and then you solidify this at the end, and give yourself the opportunity to be mindful in that moment of how you feel. In EFT is free, so you can do it anywhere. You can, once you learn how to do it on yourself, you don't even need to be connected to a computer or a screen. You will do it on yourself. You could be doing it before you go into the clinic. You could be doing it as you wait for your appointment, or before you go to bed. So it's limited. There's no limit into how far you can take EFT once you learn the tool. So I think EFT is definitely the top of my toolkits, when it comes to showing clients what they can use in order to feel better. All these mind-body tools, I often see as a menu of choices that clients can learn, and then they choose which ones they will use in that moment. So EFT is always the top from my clients. When I say at the end of my coaching programs, I ask, what were the tools that you learned here, that you loved, and that still work for you, and that you will take on with you? EFT is always there. at the top. So
yeah, brilliant. That's why it's time to put the spotlight on it, isn't it? And make
yes.
sure, it's my dream that everyone in the world who is on any kind of fertility journey, whatever stage they're at, however they're feeling emotionally at that time, is that they do have these tools available to them. And they have something, like you say, that they can do themselves, that they feel very empowered with, and that they can, as soon as any emotional discomfort, any fear, any worry, whatever it is that starts to come in, that they can take some control back, and start to nurture themselves, start to heal those emotions as they go along this journey.
Yeah.
Sharing your story, Fran, right at the start, it's, my heart went out to you, that all that time ago when you weren't aware, and then obviously when your children were little and all those emotions came up, it must have been such a tough time. And I'm sure, like me and everyone that works in this field, that's what we don't want that for anyone else, do we?
Yeah.
We want them to be connected to support in whatever form that takes. And we know that EFT, whilst it might look a bit funny because you're tapping on points on your face and on your body, it looks a bit odd at first, but like you say, it has that research, it has that knowledge as to what is going on here. I think a lot of people understand it in relation to acupuncture, because
Mm-hmm.
acupuncture is a very well-known modality for fertility support. It's absolutely wonderful. And that's very much accepted now, even though that's inserting needles all over our body, which can seem equally as strange. But,
Yes.
when we see the results, that's what's important. We see how it works. We see the true, long-lasting, real results for ourselves. And then it doesn't matter how something looks or what our preconceived ideas were, if it really works for us. So thank you for being a part of the summit. It's amazing to have you on board. It's a wonderful lineup. All 5 days of sessions are just amazing. And yours in particular, I really enjoyed our conversation. It was beautiful. So I can't wait for people to tune in and watch that soon in the summit, which starts on the 1st of February. I will put the sign up link to the summit wherever you're listening to the podcast right now. You can have a look at the text below, whether that's on my website, on Apple, on Spotify. Wherever you are, you'll be able to see the link to sign up for the summit, which is completely free of charge. Or you can go directly to fertilemindset.com/fertility stress solution. And you'll be able to sign up for free, ready for when we begin on the 1st of February. And then each day there will be new sessions with a huge range of EFT practitioners, coaches, therapists, who are all have this amazing interest and amazing connection with the fertility community, whether it's because they've been on the journey themselves, or they really recognize a part of the journey that they really want to support you on. There's I think you said there about having a list there, didn't you, Fran? A list of things to go through. And that's what this summit feels like as well. Every day you're going to have different resources you can connect into. And it's not just the presentations, although, they are the core of it. And they're just going to be amazing to take part in, because they're all interactive. You can tap along and gain results from each of those 10 sessions. But I'm also going to be running extra sessions each day, with tapping based on whatever you need. So as you join the event, there is a free private Facebook group where you can come in and meet up with me and everyone else taking part. And you can let us know what you need. What is it you're facing on your fertility journey right now? What do you want support with? And there'll be additional tappings created to support you as we go, and a safe space there for you to connect with others and share your experiences, ask your questions, and make sure that this is a really, really powerful week for you. So it's not just a typical ordinary online summit where you sit there and you just watch presentations. It's something you can dive into, you can actually use during the week, and look to get the results you're looking for within that short time that we're together. It would be amazing to hear what your experiences are. So do join us there at the Fertility Stress Solution Summit starting 1st of Feb. And you'll see Fran's wonderful presentation on stress and anxiety on a fertility journey, included in the week's programme. So thank you so much for joining, Fran, both today for this lovely chat that we've had, but also in the summit too. I'm sure this won't be the last time we speak, because I really love the way you work. It's just beautiful and so empathic and so supportive of the fertility community.
Thank you, Sarah. It's been such a pleasure to chat with you as well and to be part of the summit. For anyone who's listening and is interested, please do go ahead, because it's just phenomenal. Even everyone who's participating, all the practitioners, it's just wonderful. it's a brilliant tool. If anything, it will help you feel better. So please feel free to reach out if you have any questions as well. Thank you very much for having me, Sarah. It's been a pleasure.
You're so welcome, Fran. And if people want to connect with you directly, where's the best way to find you online? Where can they see you and ask you questions?
So I'm on Instagram and at Fran _Migliorati. And I have a Facebook group too. And on my website, they can connect with me via email. All the details are on my website too. I'd be happy to connect.
Beautiful. Thank you so much, Fran. Thank you everyone for listening today.
Thank you, Sarah.
Bye-bye. I'm so pleased you're listening to the Fertile Mindset podcast, and now I would love to invite you to join us in the Fertile Mindset Sanctuary. The Sanctuary is my fertility support membership, which is focused on taking care of you and helping you enjoy your life while you wait for your baby. In the Sanctuary, I'll guide you through using an amazing technique called EFT or tapping, and you'll soon be feeling less stressed and more joyful. If you're not already in the Sanctuary, do come and join us today, because the best time to start receiving support on your fertility journey is always right now. Honestly, it makes such a difference to have good quality emotional support and techniques that you can pick up and use yourself whenever you need them. Go to fertilemindset.com/sanctuary to join us today. I look forward to hopefully seeing you there and at the next episode of the Fertile Mindset podcast.